Right. Thank you all very much for attending in such good numbers and for your stamina through this campaign. I'd like to welcome Fenna Owen and the TV1 film crew. Be aware of the fact that we've made it into the big time now, and it is possible that some clips from this meeting will show on Q&A. I'm not sure exactly when, but in the next week or so, I guess. So welcome to you. Warm welcome to the 8 candidates on stage. And at the outset, could I thank them all very much for putting themselves forward to serve our city in the very important role of Mayor, leader of our council, civic leader of our city. It's a very big responsibility, and I think that they all deserve our thanks and admiration for offering themselves for that service. Of course, only one of them can win, but we will do our best to give them all a very fair hearing today. Before I go any further, there are a number of candidates both for the City Council and for the Regional Council who are here, and so that you can be aware of who they are and possibly speak to them if you wish to at the end of the meeting, could I ask them just to stand up and simply say their name and the office that they are seeking. And perhaps, Anna, if we start over here with you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anna Smart. I'm standing as a company in the East.
Thank you, Anna. Anna Smart, East Ward. Michelle Houghton, West Ward City Council candidate. Thank you, Michelle.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ewan Wilson, standing for Hamilton in the West Ward.
Ewan Wilson, West Ward. And the reason I'm repeating it is just I know that sometimes people can't hear in pockets of the room if you don't have a microphone. So,
thank you. Martin Gallagher, standing in the West Ward.
Martin Gallagher, current Deputy Mayor, West Ward candidate. Thank you.
Siggy Henry, West Ward.
Siggy Henry, West Ward. Thank you, Siggy.
Thank you. Thanks, Margaret Forsyth, standing in the East.
Thank you, Margaret. Margaret Forsyth, East Ward candidate.
Rudy DePloy, West Ward, fixing the bucket.
Otherwise known as Lisa. Good morning, Rudy DePloy, West Ward candidate. Any other City Council candidates? Yes, down the back.
Shanti Ram, West Ward.
Thank you, Shanti Ram, West Ward candidate.
Matthew Small, West Ward, both small, big.
Thank you, Matthew Small, West Ward. Kesh, would you just like to call out the name and the position you're seeking?
I'm Kesh.
Kesh Heidi standing as an East Ward candidate. Any other City Council? We also have at least one Regional Council.
It's you.
Good morning. My name is William Durning, and I'm standing in Hamilton for the Waikato Regional Council.
Thank you, William Durning, Hamilton Ward for the Regional Council, and bear in mind that's an equally important election. They just don't get anything like coverage that the council candidates do. Any other Regional Council candidates here? No? Well, thank you to those candidates for coming today and for the stamina that you're showing as well, and I'm sure they'll all be available to talk to you at the end of the meeting should you wish. Thank you to the Cafe Adora team for all your arrangements and your assistance. You're welcome. Thank you to my office team who are assisting us with this meeting. In particular, Robin, who is serving as our timekeeper, and I'll get to demonstrate that in a moment. So I also welcome and thank our sign language interpreters, Janet and Sam, who are with us at the front of the room, and a very warm welcome to members of our deaf community who are here today. I hope that you find the meeting useful and stimulating. It's great to have you here. Thank you to those who sent some feedback following the meeting I had here a fortnight ago for the West Ward candidates. A couple of things that I think were really useful I'll take on board. One is if there is a yes-no question, instead of asking for candidates to put their hands up, I'll actually ask them to stand up so that you can see who they are quite clearly, because some people down the back struggled with that. And also, wherever possible, I'll repeat names when applause has died down, so that you should know who they all are, although I hope you can all see their names in front of them. They're in alphabetical order for ease, but they're not going to be speaking in that order. If you haven't yet written a question, there's still time for you to do so. There are forms to do that. We've got a lot of them, so don't feel you need to, but I will be trying to ask them on your behalf as fairly and as evenly as possible, and where there are some that are very similar to married, and so we don't have too much repetition. Right, the candidates have drawn a number, both for their speaking order and also for the questions. They will have up to 4 minutes for their opening addresses. They don't need to take that long. They will get a warning bell of one ding at 3 minutes, and their time will expire at 4 minutes, and then they'll get 2 dings. You don't need to do that? You can probably work out what 2 dings sounds like. And if they keep going after that, they'll simply remove the microphone from their possession. One of the other bits of feedback I got after the last meeting was that every candidate should be given an opportunity to answer every question, because otherwise it's too easy to avoid the ones they don't wish to. So we won't require them to do that, but we will invite them all to do that for up to 1 minute. If a question has been specifically put to a candidate, then naturally we'll expect that candidate to answer that one. They'll have up to 1 minute for those answers, but if they can be briefer, that will help us all. And if time permits, we'll have a 1 minute right of reply at the end of the meeting, but there are a lot of questions, so that may not be possible. Right, the candidates have drawn numbers for speaking order, and they have up to 4 minutes for their opening addresses. I'm going to suggest they come to the lectern for the opening address, and then maybe just stay where they are for the questions, because that will save a lot of time when we get to that. And the first candidate to speak this morning for the mayoralty is Andrew King.
So thank you, Tim. Thank you everyone for being here. I particularly want to acknowledge my wife sitting there in the back row. Thank you, Anne, for being here. It's the first time I've seen you turn up, so well done. And my dad's here somewhere too. Dad, 86 years old, still independent. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate your support. Firstly, I just want to start by saying I acknowledge the Creator, and I acknowledge that although I've been the Mayor for the last 3 years, I need a team to work with me to achieve the remarkable things we've done in a remarkably quick time for our city. So I thank the elected members who have worked with me, who have supported me, who haven't undermined me and acted in a destructive way, but we've worked very well together as a team. And I'm really do say we're all independents. There's 13 of us, and I think you'll agree you haven't heard a lot in the media or in the news over the last 3 years. We've been a largely united council, and I'm really grateful to my members for that. When I took over, the city was run down. We had Waterworld that was needed $11 million spending on it because it hadn't had money spending on it for a long time. We had the Central City Library that was earthquake rated, and the rules hadn't changed. It was earthquake rated from a long time back, and we fixed that now. We had a Central City Theatre that was broken. We had 28,000 faults in their footpaths, so we cut the footpath budget to try and make the books look good. We've stopped spending basically, and any mayor can do that. You can stop spending, let the city run down, and make the books look good. But that's not the answer. That's not being responsible, and that's not looking after our people or future generations. So we made the hard decision.
That looks like a
So we made the
donation to your
hard decision
campaign.
as a council, and we fixed that. We're now rating in a way that we can look after what we've got. We are rating in a responsible way, and we are repairing our footpaths. We are looking after what we've got, and we've got the city back on track. And we are still rating in the bottom third of all residential rates in New Zealand. So I don't believe that we're overrating. I also want to talk about the vision I have for a Central City Park in the middle of town to open up. We've already got the park there that opens under my mayoralty, and we've bought other buildings next to it. Now those buildings are break even, so the rent that comes in for those buildings pays the cost of the mortgage. So there is no cost for those buildings to ratepayers, and they're being held for a future council to decide what to do with them, whether to keep them as buildings and control that special part of town, or whether we demolish them and expand the park right through to the new theatre that's likely to go in. So this council that I'm a part of has delivered. We've got a library, a sports field, and a town centre in the northwest that's been promised for 20 years. That's delivered. We've got Peacock subdivision, it's been promised for 30 years, delivered. We've got the CBD that has been always talked about forever, but it's back to the river. We've got the Central City River Park, and we control our buildings, so we can't open it up. Delivered. We've got the train to Auckland. Delivered. We've got free buses for those with disabilities, and for our children 18 and under during holidays, non-school days. We've got a community land trust we've opened. We've got $250 million of central government money in 3 years you don't have to pay back. It's never happened in the history of our city. And we've sorted out our city's finances. Delivered as well. So we are a council of action. We're a council about doing things. We're a council about being responsible and running things properly. Grow Hamilton, love Hamilton. They need everything from there.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew and I see a lot of each other. I also would like to welcome my wife, Anne. We don't share a wife, they are two different people. And next is Jackie.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to be here. Let you know a little bit about myself. I am a father. I am a pastor, counsellor, community work. I run Families for Justice Trust, and we're working with 70 groups around the country because fathers and mothers are being uplifted. And we're seeing the family being destroyed in this country. Also, I run a suicide prevention trust, and this is simply my heart rainbow, which focuses on suicide first aid, buddy supporter, talking therapy, freedom fighters, that's representing uplifting the oppressed, healers, and trauma recovery practitioners. I expect everyone to go through a wellness plan to deal with their own abuse issues and so forth. And as you come up 6 steps, you become an uplifter, wise leader, insightful seer, matakite, humanitarian, messenger of hope, and life mentor. This is very important because the suicide toll has gone up. We're seeing the disparities between the rich and the poor. We're seeing massive homelessness, and we're seeing families where mothers and fathers are taking their lives. Okay, now my vision for Hamilton likens Hamilton to a beautiful New Jerusalem diamond where the Jubilee spirit level promotes freedom, justice and equality for all. A bit like the Justice League. The light passes through 12 windows and gates on the east, west, north and south, revitalising the CBD with vibrant shops and businesses connected to each other. Shopping centres right around the city. City Hall will be open and transparent. No doubt you've heard of my rap, which talks about democracy, accountability and integrity. We need all the books open. We need exactly to know what's going on with the rates. The infrastructure, core services and facilities will be maintained. We know that core services are very important, and when we focus too much on projects and we neglect the basic core services of sewage, water, rubbish and so forth, there's something wrong. The gardens, parks and green belts areas will be kept in good order. The roundabouts, roads and cycleways will be kept in good order, also facilitating current flow of traffic. We have traffic build-up, mainly at 3:30 over in Hillcrest. Who knows, it's very difficult to get through that traffic, and that traffic needs to be sped up or redirected to make the traffic flow a lot better in the city. Tourism will be the main focus, making us internationally renowned, and I will focus on reopening the Hamilton International Airport. I will put the heart and soul back into the city amongst young and old with community festivals, a new Metro Theatre and Riverside Cafeteria. There will be responsible spending with economic growth, balancing the need for new projects with the need to keep us out of debt. Business grants with less red tape will stimulate economic growth. And I will cooperate with property developers to meet the needs for people in affordable housing. I will focus on community inclusion and consultation by being the voice of the people, providing 24 access with advisory boards, providing family advocacy and the interfaith movement. Participatory democracy with text and digital voting is so very important because the youth do not get a look-in, because we need to encourage everyone to vote. So, Jack Dillon for a healthier, happier, happening Hamilton, for both Mayor and Hamilton East City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. And our third speaker this morning is James Chapman.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming out on this beautiful, warm spring morning. Look, yes, I'm James Cass, I'm running for Mayor and East Ward. A little bit about me, I'm a first-term City Councillor, so I'm going for the second term. Previous to City Council, I was a police officer in New Zealand for 25 years, 20 of those in Hamilton, and I was the officer in charge of the Flagstaff Police Station when it was up and running. Overseas deployments I had with the United Nations in East Timor, Portugal, Papua New Guinea, Tonga and Solomon Islands. So I'm the only candidate or current councillor that's an RSA member. So look, when we first came into council, we were told the books were in good order and nothing to worry about. Well, one of our few meetings we were in there, we were hit with the Mayor at around 11 o'clock at night wanting a 16.5% rates increase down in there. We didn't know what was happening, of course we didn't vote for that. But we did work hard to get down to 9.7% average. And the unfortunate thing with that is, nobody's wages go up usually by 9.7% in a year, and a lot of people are on fixed income. I'm pretty sure a few people in this room are on fixed income. You find it hard for that sort of increase, and it's very unfair. But the city has been let to run down over the last few years. And we did walk into town instead of falling over. We walked into 28,000 faults on our footpaths. We walked into faults in our roads. We walked into faults with Waterworld. We walked into faults with our library. And they all had to be fixed. Luckily, we have fixed most of those. Obviously, Founders hasn't been fixed, and we still don't know what's going to happen with that. But to date, we've fixed 23 kilometres worth of footpaths. But there's a lot of work to do. One of the people that fell over and broke their wrist in there and 2 ribs on one of those footpaths was my wife. And she rang me, not as my wife one morning, but as a very a very annoyed citizen. And I got it. So look, we have been working very hard. I was one of the main drivers in getting the Thomas Thornton Road intersection fixed. Because in 2008 I attended a death there where a lady was T-boned. And then in 2017 there was a young man killed there at exactly the same spot, T-boned on that corner, and it was in the top 10 most dangerous intersections in New Zealand. With the hard work and with the work of our infrastructure team, we have got that done. But it doesn't. No councillor or no mayor can say they've done anything by themselves. It takes a team, and that's teamwork to get that done. So hopefully we prevent any more deaths at that intersection. But we do have more dangerous roads we have to look after. I've been very passionate over my 3 years in council on community safety initiatives. And the roading and the footpaths are just some of those. But there's also our City Safe team. Now, working with Councillor Angela, who pushed us very hard, we've got 5 extra staff in our City Safe team. That means that they don't just do the city anymore, they can go out to the suburbs, which are having problems in the suburbs. So we are slowly working on our crime in Hamilton. And being an ex-police officer, I know that we have our problems here, and we have like any other large city. But we are working very closely with the New Zealand Police now. We have a great relationship with them, and I want to keep going and keep working with them to make this city one of the safest in New Zealand. So if that's what you want, if that's what you need in Hamilton, then vote Casson for Mayor or vote Casson for East Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, James Casson. The next candidate is Angela O'Leary.
Shorter than everybody else. Good morning, everyone. I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm Angela O'Leary and I'm standing for the mayoral team. I think it's time you had a mayor with experience, and you've told me that you need a mayor that you can trust. I'm the most experienced mayoral candidate in this election because I've worked 12 years serving you as a dedicated Hamilton City Councillor, and it's a role that I treasure. I announced my candidacy in January, and it's been 9 months for me campaigning. And when I announced, I said my campaign's not going to be about me and what I want. It's going to be about you, and I meant it. And you'll see from my flyers and my handouts around the hall this morning that my campaign is about you. So I've spent that 9 months pretty much talking to residents, hundreds of residents and businesses, and asking what matters to you right now. And you've told me there are 2 things that matter most to you right now. The first one is rates and the uncertainty of future rates increases. And the second one is trust. And if you elect me as your future mayor in just 2 weeks, I will do something significant about both of those things. I will align rates to the cost of living in my first term to give you rate certainty. You might hear from some of the other candidates that it can't be done, but it can. Let me give you a quick example. I have a plan, and my plan is based on principles, because budgets are simply about priorities. But to give you a quick example, the current year is 3.8% rates increase with a budget of $270 million. We'd be looking for a saving of $4 million out of $260 to $270 million to get it to the cost of living right now. So I can do it. And I have lots of ideas and a plan to help rebuild your trust in council, because that is actually the real issue facing the council and the organisation, rebuilding your trust. In the latest Quality of Life survey that's done of all metro cities around New Zealand, Hamilton scored the lowest in your confidence in council decisions. We dropped from 46% confidence in council decisions to 26%. That's a 50% drop. And as your future mayor, I will ensure that the best ideas are discussed and supported, and that inclusion and openness triumph over personal agendas and secrecy. I understand that I'm not here to make decisions for you or to do democracy to you. I'm here to represent you. And being in elected office is a privilege that very few people in the world actually get to do, and I am privileged and honoured every day to serve. So I'm asking you to trust me with your vote to be your next mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela O'Leary. Next up is Mike West. Good morning to you all. I am Mike West, as Tim just mentioned, and I'm standing for the Mayor and East Ward Councillor. I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm a long-time Hamiltonian. I was schooled in Hamilton, got married in Hamilton. My wife and I raised our children here in Hamilton. We still live in Hamilton. I'm also a local businessman. I started my engineering company 35 years ago and still going strong, I'm pleased to say. Now, during my campaign up till now, I've tried to maintain a very straight line. I pretty much said that my desire is to put the brakes on council spending. The problem, as I see it, is that the council spending is growing faster than our ability to pay for it. I have actually previously referred to the council as the machine, okay, and it is a pretty big machine. It's actually a behemoth if you think about it, and it's got 1,000 staff. It spends a couple $100 million a year, so it's rolling along. Now, I understand that the council has some very important functions to perform. It's obviously got to deal with managing and overseeing core infrastructure. It's got to look after our public spaces. It's got to have a regulatory framework that allows us to be innovative ourselves and to actually have some light for the future. But how far does the machine go? How big does it get? And how quickly should we let it get that big? Also, during my campaign, I've talked about the team. Okay, now the team are the people that you elect. So it will be a mayor who will be the leader of the team, and it will be 12 other councillors. The team's got a very, very important role to play, because it is the only thing on all of our behalf as citizens that puts a set of controls and limitations in place. It has to make the machine be affordable and efficient and accountable as well. So here's something out of left field for you. I've thought a lot about what I could do if I was elected as the mayor, and obviously my focus would be to try and make that team into a focused unit that would rein in the council machine.
and I realise that I might not get elected. So what I want to say now is I want to say what I want to try and would like to put in place. If I can't do it, someone that does get elected could do it as well. All right, now bear in mind that when it comes to the formal decision-making process, the Mayor only has one vote on that council. So if the Mayor is not a person who can actually get the council united and on some common ground, then they won't achieve anything. I don't believe that things like policy, things like vision and the likes are particularly important if you don't get a team working with you. So what I would like the new council to do, and a new mayor, and if it is me, I will definitely do my best to achieve it, is to set up a set of basic considerations that it uses when it's making decisions, particularly setting decisions. And those are, well, for instance, who do we represent? What are our priorities? Where is the money coming from? Do the benefits, which may be financial or otherwise, outweigh the costs? And are the benefits distributed for the greater good? A vote for me might not get me to be the mayor, but at least it'll send a message to whoever does get to be the mayor and the council that you believe in what I'm talking about the council machine being reined in, and it will send a message. So if you think that's what you want to achieve, then please vote for me.
Thank you, Mike. Is everybody able to hear? There was a bit of reverberation there, but we're okay. Next up, so that was my quest. The next candidate is Lisa Lewis.
Good morning. Thank you for your time to come and listen to all of the 8 mayoralty candidates this morning. In my first 90 days as Mayor, I want to investigate and put together a safer community strategy that is, number 1, cost effective, number 2, results focused, number 3, people centric. Everyone needs to feel safe in Hamilton, including elderly. If rates are going to stay the same, other everyday living costs need to assist our elderly. This can be done through increasing Super Gold Card to including peak times, travelling free of cost. Elderly can socialise more this way without putting any restrictions on them. I grew up under Christian morals where I was taught to respect my elders. As Mayor, I will respect my elders and teach others to do so. I would like to see more businesses offer a pensioner discount to our elderly, with companies we can promote, such as security companies, butchers, fruit and vegetable stores, power and phone companies, to assist in the hardship of growing costs that have dramatically increased in the years. We owe this as respect to our elders. I believe we need to support our police, adding more security cameras in high crime zones, working together with local police to see a reduction in graffiti and decrease in crime. I want to be a mayor who understands problems and hardships, and I will investigate these problems and find solutions. As mayor, I want our city to foster a welcoming spirit with a sense of industry, education, sport, all with a common goal. My issues and policies include caring for Hamilton's environment, address housing shortages, reduce rate rises, footpath maintenance, road safety, tourism, reduce youth delinquency, transparency and accountability, homelessness, fireworks restrictions, homelessness and climate change. Hamilton Gardens. I don't believe that anyone in Hamilton should have to pay to go into Hamilton Gardens. I know this has been a discussion and I do want to bring this up. As part of our rates, we pay for the Hamilton Gardens to be improved. And I think anyone visiting Hamilton, they should have to pay. So if you're a local here, as mayor, if you can provide your driver's license that shows your address or a utility bill, then I believe that anyone in Hamilton should be able to enter gardens free because we already pay for it with our rates. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Lisa Lewis. Number 7 is Paula Southgate.
Thank you. Just to figure out if I need my glasses on or off. Just a little bit. Sorry, I am the tallest, that's true. Whoa, very, very tall now, thank you. That's fine. Can you hear me? No. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for attending today and giving us this opportunity to share with you our vision for the city. I'm Paula Southgate and I'm running for Mayor and only for Mayor. I would like to ask for your support as I run for Mayor of Hamilton City this year. As you know, many of you out there we've been chatting, I was the candidate that missed out by a slim 6 votes last time. I'm running because I think it's important to change the way that the city is being run in the present. I'm a positive, strong and inclusive leader with a long experience. In fact, I've been your representative, you voted for me for 18 years and I'm grateful for that. 15 years I was at the Regional Council and the last 3 years I've been at the City Council, where I've learned even more about our local communities as Chair of Community Services and Environment. But I haven't popped up overnight at all. I've been within the community, working in the community, with the community for a very long time. And that's how I will continue to operate. Council is not a dictatorship. It is not about the vision of one or a few that will be imposed upon other people. It is a democracy, and it relies on asking the community that we serve and represent what it is that you want, and more importantly, what it is that you need, and creating a dialogue between the other leaders on council so that we can meet those needs. I'm very strong on public participation. Under my mayoralty, there will be no more last-minute big surprises. There will be no more last-minute reports on which we have to make decisions 2 days later. You can expect to learn what we're doing all of the time so that you're well informed when it comes to our decision-making time. There are 4 things the council must focus on, however. The first one is finances. We must bring the finances under control. And yes, I'd like to make myself extremely popular here by saying I'll bring your rates down or whatever, but I'm not actually sure that can be done. I think that's a stretched target. What I will do, however, is assure you that the rates will not go up above the 3.8, and I will be looking for every last saving that I can. The Chief Executive has offered to save $93 million over 10 years. He's on track so far, and I'll be keeping him on track for the rest of the 9 years. If the other candidates have had really good ideas, I haven't heard them till recently, but I'm really looking forward to bringing all of those good ideas about how we might work cost-effectively to the table. But I'll tell you one thing, if we are to deliver growth, if we are to deliver affordable housing, which we do need, I've been door knocking too, and I see the huge discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots, and I see that people are being left behind. We need to get government money to the table, and I will go after that money. I have good relationships in Wellington. I work on a number of advisory boards there. I'm also very strong on local community, and it is not acceptable to let our community assets run down the way they have. And quite frankly, Waterworld is the classic example where the flooring degraded, you could pick it up, where the acoustic tiles fell off the ceiling, where the reticulation was 37 years old. But I could give you a handful of other examples. We've got to look after our city that we already have in a better way, and we have to deal with growth. And in doing both of those, we've got to balance our finances so that it is fair and affordable. And we have to take you on the journey with everything that we do. If you elect me as Mayor, I will work hard to create community-led development, an open, transparent council where you understand what leads to the decisions that we make, and you have a voice in the decisions that we make. Please support me for Mayor of Hamilton.
Well, thank you, Paula Southgate. And final candidate, the opening address is Louise Hutt.
One extreme to the other.
We need an arrangement with me and Paula after 100. Senator Louise Hutt, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. This past 6 months is kind of like the biggest, weirdest job interview that I've ever had. So I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm currently the youngest CEO of an electricity retailer in New Zealand, so I understand the responsibility that comes with providing core services. For the first retailer that we built for Well Energy Trust, we were able to reduce the cost of electricity in the Waikato by up to 30%. With nearly 40% of Hamilton earning $20,000 a year or less, those kind of savings were absolutely critical for us to be able to provide. If we can create these kind of savings on core services in the private sector, I'd like you all to just think about what we could do in the public sector too. I work at the cutting edge of technology and innovation, and I really believe that we need more people who truly understand technology in council. I'm also a board member of Go Eco, which is just down the road, the yellow building. So I also understand the role of governance and the importance of sustainability in ensuring that we can be efficient, effective, and future focused. Our flagship project is Kaivolution, and I'm glad you're sitting down because I'm about to blow your minds. We rescue 18,000 kilos of food waste each month. So that's stuff which is no longer going to go to landfill, but instead we actually redistribute into the community to over 160 charities. So people in our community get food to share with their family, which otherwise we'd just be throwing out, we'd just be being wasteful with. There were points in my life where I was struggling. I haven't always been a CEO. So it means a lot to me to be involved in a project where we can give back to our community really significantly. We also facilitate our gully restoration, community gardens, bike safety education, and biodiversity groups. So I am on the board of an organisation which does fantastic things for our environment. I'm also really proud to have a master's degree from the University of Waikato. But enough about me. I'm sure these guys are all really sick of hearing me talk about myself. So I thought I'd talk about my vision for our city. We need a city which looks like us and looks after us. One where we feel safe and celebrated. It's about a sustainable vision for council, where we think through the outcomes of our decisions, not just in the ways we intend, but also the other ways they can affect our city. My key priorities are housing, transport, and looking after our environment. We need to make sure our community lands trust is a success, because we've been hounded on this campaign trail for the sale of pensioner housing, which I think we still need to make amends for. We need safe ways to get around our city. If, like me, you don't own a car. We need more cycleways to keep our e-scooters off the footpaths because they don't belong there. And we need more pedestrian-friendly areas in our city. We also need to think about climate change. If you think about how much rates you will have paid into our city for how long you've lived here, we know that climate change is going to affect our infrastructure, and we actually need to honour the investment that you've paid to make sure that our infrastructure is up for scratch. Because we're going to have more flash flooding, we're going to have hotter temperatures for longer, and we know that's happening, and so we need to preemptively do something about that. I want our zoos, our libraries, our parks, our playgrounds to all be something all of us can enjoy for future generations, not just for right now. So I'm running for the Mayoralty and for Hamilton West. Thank you so much for letting me talk about myself for so long. Thank you.
Right, at this point, we have a microphone on both tables, and I'll have one here, so we'll mostly be seated, although you're welcome to stand if you wish to, but to speed up, we're not going to come back and forth to the lectern. We have a number of questions. Thank you to those who sent them ahead of this meeting. There are some on similar topics as I've been going through them, and so where I can, I'm marrying them together so that we cover a range of different topics. Candidates have up to 1 minute to answer, but if you can be briefer, please do, because it'll enable us to get through more of them. I have randomised the order in which they will do it, so the number you have for order of speaking will still be your number, but obviously you're not going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, the first question is on, broadly speaking, on the topic of affordable housing. There were 2 questions on this. I'll read them both and feel free to comment on whichever aspects of them you can. The order in which this question will be answered is 5, 2, 8, 4, 1, 6, 3, 7. So that'll mean my quest is first up for that one. So affordable housing. 2 questions that I'll say your name again when I can, but it's just to mix it up. This week, a new independent economic report has challenged the council's methods over housing affordability and is forecasting serious issues ahead. Chief Executive Richard Briggs has strongly defended his patch. The question is, who is correct? And will it be ratepayers once again who will have to pick up the tab if Richard Briggs and the current mayor and council are wrong? It's quite a long one, but affordable housing there. And the other one that was on affordable housing, which you may also comment on, to those who are advocating creating affordable housing, give us some practical examples of what this house will be like. For instance, will it have doors and windows? First up for this is number 5, My Quest.
Hello. The word affordability is a difficult one to work with anyway, isn't it? Because affordability is very relative to how much expendable money you have. And also, what is the council's role in providing affordability? The council has a job to perform in Hamilton, which is to provide our infrastructure, but its regulatory function, which is the part of it that has the most impact on the cost of housing, needs to be a little bit streamlined. Developers are private organisations. They develop new land. They knock down old buildings and maybe put up 4 or 5 or 6 in the same area. Builders are private enterprises. They have paid staff. They look to make a profit. They do what they do. They build houses. So the only way to really make housing more affordable, cheaper, should I say, is to either reduce the standard of the housing, to find a way to manufacture and build housing more effectively or more efficiently, or use someone else's money to subsidise that housing. So I'm definitely against the...
That's the end of your time. You've got to be very strict on this. Number 2 is Jack Elam. Stay at the table, Jack. We're trying...
Yeah, this is a big issue with me, because I feel we can provide flat top houses from Bunnings for 100,000. Why is it that I get the impression that everything is finances and everything is controlled from the top? This is a world where all the problems we need to share. We need to understand what homelessness is about. We need to understand what it means for families living on streets. So I feel it's a top priority for the council to be involved in reducing red tape and property developers taking a bit less. The private sector deals with the debt also. This is the picture I'm getting, that the top people with the trickle-up control everything in society. It's about time we learn to express a Jubilee principle of wealth distribution and understand people that haven't got homes, because there's thousands out there. So we all need to take responsibility. We need to provide cheaper homes, flat top homes for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. It's such a good question because, like I said before, when nearly 40% of Hamilton earns $20,000 a year or less, but the average house price in Hamilton is $580,000, affordable housing does not exist. And I think the real issue is not so much about affordable housing, but it's about housing security. So I've lived here for 8 years. I've moved house 8 times in 8 years. And it is disruptive and it is exhausting, and there are so many other people in the city who share that experience. And so I think that, like our community land trust, for example, that is a concept which has been proven in the United States over and over and over again. And what they do is they get gifted or buy land in the city, and they give people a 99-year lease. So you can have that house for the rest of your life. If you live longer than 100 years, I'm not sure what we do. We'll figure it out. But you then only have to deal with the cost of the house itself, which is not, when you look at the actual cost of the house, it's the land which is the expensive thing.
Thank you, Louise Hutt. Next is Angela O'Leary.
Look, there is no, in the current economic environment with immigration, land prices, building costs and the tension around finding labour, there simply is no such thing right now as affordable housing. And when you're talking about affordable housing, you have to talk about availability, and you actually have to talk about the affordability of those already in their homes who are struggling to pay their rates, to pay their insurance, to upkeep their homes in terms of maintenance. But what I'm going to do about it is, if I'm elected mayor, I'm going to bring together a housing symposium and come up with a strategy, because at the moment Hamilton City doesn't really have a plan. I think it's really important, and actually it's really important to me to start at the coalface. At the moment we have a rule book and we have developers who build houses, but no one actually asks you what you want. No one actually asks the teenagers coming up who are starting to think about, wonder what my first home is going to be, what they want. So we need to do that. So that's what I'm going to do if I'm elected as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela O'Leary. Next is Andrew King.
So firstly, the Colin Jones report that was done by Urban Economics was full of inconsistencies. It claimed that our Hamilton house pricing was less affordable in Auckland. That's just ludicrous, and we think it's very interesting the timing of this report being released just before an election, when Colin is also connected with a group of people who are standing for the election as well. So I've just discounted that out of hand. It's not accurate, and it's full of inconsistencies. Second thing is, the second point was the housing and housing affordability. We do live in a democracy, we do live in a capitalist society, and it was always hard for you to buy your first home, and I'm sure it was for everybody who's in this room. But we do also understand there are people who do work and can't pay, and we have set up a land trust for those people. So it is do work, can't pay, not people who the government would normally look after. So we're
Thank you, Andrew King. The next candidate is Lisa Lewis.
We will work to lift the pace and scale of housing construction and regeneration to tackle housing shortages and unaffordability. Housing prices and rent increases are determined by rates. Reduced rate rises is top of the list in terms of my policies. Our council can look at what other councils are also doing to see how Hamilton can assist in social affordability and housing development. We could also look at potential rate relief for organisations who supply affordable housing. Everyone should be able to have a roof over their head despite their social or financial situation.
Thank you, Lisa. Next is James Casson.
Well, we as councillors rely on reports given to us, so Mr. Briggs better be right, because someone will have to pay for it. In regards to affordable housing, the market will drive that, and the big problem we have here in Hamilton is our section prices here are just phenomenal. $400,000 or $500,000 for a 400 square metre section is just ridiculous. You can go to Christchurch and build a house down there for way less than here. You get a 1-point-something acre section for $200,000 down there. But look, the market will run it, and we just have to run along with that. But developers are, if you try and get cheaper houses, they'll bowl one house down or two houses down for one section and put on duplexes. That's probably the only way you're going to get cheaper housing. But then you get the problems because they're multi-storey, and it's not good for the disability sector or the elderly who go up and downstairs.
Thank you, James Casson. And the last for this question is Paula Southgate.
Thank you. If any independent report throws up anomalies or questions, then Council, of course, is obliged to look at that and to go back to Council and ask some questions to make sure that we have got the data right, because data is absolutely essential to making the right investment going forward, which is absolutely essential to whether we deliver affordable housing or not. So I haven't had a chance to read the full report yet, but I will. In terms of affordable housing, and I'll say on that matter, every single dollar that council spends must be spent wisely. And if somebody alerts us to the fact that something might be wrong financially, we are obliged to double check, triple check that we are doing wise money management. With affordable housing, It's difficult because land price is a huge part of the issue with sections in the 400 plus. We can't achieve affordable housing on our own, and if we say we can, we're dreaming. But we can.
Thank you, Paula Southgate.
Yes,
I'm being very tough on this. We'll move on to question 2. Question 2, the order of answers will be for candidates 6, so that's Lisa Lewis first, 4, 7, 3, 8, 5, 2, 1. And I've married 2 questions together which are essentially about local facilities and in particular entertainment. So I'll read them both, please try to handle them together. Why would you build a new multi-art centre to replace the Founders Theatre when we already have Claudelands Event Centre and Mystery Creek? Isn't Claudelands running at a loss? And the other person said, to make Claudelands and the new theatre work, Hamilton needs more national and international hotels. Your comments, please. So essentially, Founders Theatre, Claudelands, and the need for accommodation. First is Lisa Lewis.
I don't believe in spending $57 million on a new theatre, although $25 million of that is ratepayers' money. I feel that that is a ludicrous amount of money, and that could be broken down into quite a few different projects that Hamilton needs. We, like the question, whoever asked that question, thank you. We already do have Claudelands Event Centre. We also have the Meteor. We've also got a beautiful building at Wintec called the Atrium and Waikato University. And also, the one at Field Days, I forgot what it's called. Mystery Creek, apologise, I had a mic. So I personally don't believe in spending that much money, and I agree that we already have some great facilities. In terms of getting some great, some more well-known artists and events at Claudelands Event Centre, I think that's a great idea. I've just heard that Mainland Trucks is putting on a big event next year, and I think that's fantastic for Hamilton and the trucking industry here in the Waikato or in New Zealand, bringing together.
Thank you, Lisa. The next one is Angela O'Leary.
He started before I did. That's all right. Okay. The new theatre, I think it's important that the city of our size has a regional theatre, particularly for young people to be able to look and see that there is a career option in the performing arts. In terms of Claudelands, yes, our city needs a hotel, but councils, this council, prior councils for a decade have been trying to attract a hotel. Until the numbers stack up, they won't come. I'm very supportive of Claudelands. I did put out there that it could be sold. It certainly wouldn't be at a fire sale. But more importantly, the conversation should be about, is council the best organisation to run it? Because it does run in a 100% commercial environment, and there could be a deal out there that would be better and beneficial for not only the city and the event centre, but the ratepayer. Founders Theatre, I think, was the third one. It's your asset. You've paid for it. There's a couple of options that have come through in consultation. Knock it down, turn it into green space, or use it for a community space. I'm not in favour of knocking it down. Once we lose buildings, they're going
Thank you,
forever.
Angela, and please pass the microphone to Paula Southgate.
Thank you. Claudelands is built. We must stop lamenting the fact that it is there. It is there and it's a fantastic facility. Now we've got to make it work as hard as it possibly can. We need to attract as many events there as we can. And actually the hotel is a bit of a barrier. Last year we turned away a couple of really large conventions, international conventions with 6,000 plus participants because there wasn't enough bed space in Hamilton. But we are working very hard to attract that bed space, and in the next couple of years we will see some more hotel beds available in Hamilton. In terms of the founders, they again should never have been allowed to run down to the state that it was. And I know that it was a safety issue that closed it in the end, but it was getting old and tired and it should have been renewed and maintained. We might not have been having this conversation. So I do support the theatre by the river as part of the river plan and revitalise of a CBD, plus the fact that it brings $50 million of philanthropic money. But I understand why people feel very let down about where the current theatre has landed.
Thank you, Paula Southgate. James Casson.
We wouldn't be in this situation if we'd actually just looked after Founders Theatre in the first place. But look, we are a population of 170,000 people. We cannot have a build it and they will come attitude. We can't afford everything. We've got the Meteor, we've got Clarence Street Theatre, we've got Riverlea, we've got we've got Claudens, and we've got the university for all sorts of performances. Now my concern is when the new theatre is built, it'll take a lot of the acts from Claudens that is currently there. Claudens is still losing money at the moment, but once you take all those acts, it'll go back to losing $10 to $15 million a year. We're going to have a problem. And also where the theatre is, the new theatre, you're going to have a problem with the parking's being muted, and also when you finish going to a concert or an orchestra or whatever else is going to be there, you're going to walk out at 11 o'clock at night, you're going to walk through all the drunks. That's what's probably going to happen.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Next is Louise Hutt.
I've worked in the creative sector for quite a while, and the thing to remember about Claudens is that it is a convention centre. It is not a theatre. The Mayoral is a wonderful space, but it is a black box theatre, which is primarily for experimental weird stuff, which is great. They do a great job with that. That's very different from a regional theatre. And you have, when it's called a regional theatre, it's actually not just for us, it's for the whole region. And, you know, we've had actually collaborative funding for a new regional theatre from Waikato Regional Council, from Momentum. You know, we're building it collaboratively for everybody in our whole region, and I think that's a huge asset for us to have in our city for all the people that we'll also bring in from outside of Hamilton. So it's a lot more complex than just saying, oh, we'll put on your stuff at Claudens. Claudens is not fit for purpose. People can't afford to hire Claudens for the amount of time you need to rehearse in the space, whereas that is something you can do in a regional theatre because they have rehearsal spaces.
Thank you, Louise Hutt. Next is Mike West.
I've actually got a written statement I recently put up regarding the regional theatre. I'll read it out to you. Personally, I look forward to buying a ticket and attending a show at the regional theatre. However, I don't support the council committing ratepayer funds to it. I really do hope that private funders can make it work, but ratepayers already carry the financial burden of Claudens Event Centre, Waikato Stadium, Seddon Park, the Zoo, and the Hamilton Gardens. We have to say enough is enough, at least for now. With regard to Claudens, I would support any moves to try and find a buyer for it. It may even be a case where another party could run Claudens Event Centre better than the council could, and may also introduce a hotel if they're a perhaps an international organisation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Jack Given.
Yeah, I see it as an issue of misspent money. We should never have bought the new theatre because we could have refurbished Founders. And I also see an issue with Claudens because, like, I mean to say it's a big debacle in some ways. And so that was the wrong way that the council went at the time. But I also see an issue with freedom of expression, the arts. I mean, why are we going into a big, huge artistic building that's costing millions of dollars when we don't have advisory boards for the arts? We don't have a youth council. We don't have an elder council. So in order to allow people to really express themselves, we need to get to where people can feel, you know, the right to express themselves, because there's an issue with facing the real ones. We have all this pretty art, but we've got buskers on the street who are rejected, and Maoris can't express their perspective. And to me, we need multicultural inclusion.
Finally, for question 2, Andrew King.
So, for the same money that you spent on the theatre, that we would spend fixing the theatre, we get a brand new fit for purpose modern day theatre. 250 steps away from that theatre, plenty of car parks covered just down Wood Street and on Alexandra Street. So for 250 steps, I think we can live with that. And I don't buy the fact that our city is full of drunks at 10 o'clock at night when the theatre finishes. It's not. And it won't hurt to mix it up. We do in Paris, we do in Melbourne when we go to the theatre, we do in London, and we will in Hamilton. This decision's been made, by the way. I don't know why we're talking about it. It was made 3 years ago. A theatre is actually about flight power. A theatre is actually about voice projection. It's about good acoustics. It's about opera. It's about orchestras, and it's about the things that a big rock and roll theatre like Claudens can't do. And by the way, Claudens is a fantastic world-class facility. We don't talk about selling FMG Stadium, our cricket ground, which actually costs us more than Claudens do. We don't talk about selling our parks and our libraries because they use money. These are things that we give to our people for.
Thank you, Andrew King. Order of answers to question 3 will be 8, 7, 6, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 87651234. The question relates to the Peacock development and is the $240 million loan from the government for the Peacock development. When does it have to be paid back and how will it be paid back? The $240 million loan from the government for the Peacock development, when does it have to be paid back and how will it be paid back? And the first answer is from Louise Hutt. Louise Hutt.
So, my understanding, and I'm very happy to be wrong about this, I am just at this point a hobby candidate, so this is something I do in my free time, was that it's a 10-year interest-free loan, so ideally we would have paid it back in 10 years, but if not, we can refinance it. And sorry, what was the other half of that? How will it be paid
when
back?
and how will it be paid
How
back?
will it be paid back? My understanding, again, happy to be wrong, was that when we went on the candidate bus trip and went over to look at Peacocks, was that it will be paid back through the developer contributions from building in Peacocks. That's my understanding. Like I said, happy to be wrong.
Thank you, Louise. And next is Paula Southgate.
Yes, so a portion of that is, well, there's an interest-free loan and 180 million of that does need to be paid back within the 10-year period. Otherwise, we could be in a situation of, like Louise says, having to refinance it at a less favourable rate. Conversation to be had. So the key is to get the delivery of the houses so we get that money back. Some money we won't have to pay back is the money that we've been subsidised for some of the roading elements. The rest of it does get picked up by the development community, except for the bit that's in the public good, and therefore the ratepayer pays it. My concern is that if we don't get as many houses into that new area as quickly as we think we're going to have front-ended the spend and not be able to attract that back through the development contributions or the increased rates because of the increased number of homes. So we do need to watch that one very, very careful. A debt is a debt.
Thank you, Paula Southgate. Next, Lisa Lewis.
My understanding is the developer community contributions and also ratepayers. Like Paul Southgate said, debt is a debt, and this is, something we need to obviously look at because it's a huge burden for ratepayers to have to go into this, and this decision's obviously been made between government and current council and the people that work at council, so I think the new team that comes on, we really need to look at obviously how we can pay this back within the 10 years, like Louise said also, because everyone knows when you don't pay a bill on time, interest gets added very highly.
Thank you, Lisa. Next is Mike West.
To be honest, I'm a bit worried about it. If the forecasts don't come true, then we're in a bit of trouble, so just have to watch closely.
Thank you, Mike. Next, Andrew King.
Yeah, this is just a fantastic opportunity. This isn't bad. The government, we went and talked to central government. This has never happened in the history of the city. They gave us $180 million interest-free. Over 10 years, it's $50 million worth of benefit back to the city. They gave us another $110 million for the roads and the bridge over there. They gave us another $18 million, so we don't have to pay back none of this to go over the bridge. But they also gave us $80 million for a train to Auckland. That's $250 million of benefit that this city has got from central governments to help open up Peacock and get a train going to Auckland. This is fantastic. This is nothing to fear. This is basic business. The first 350 houses in Peacock pay 50,000 DCs each. That pays the loan back. Peacock has capacity for 8,000 houses. This is really, really good for our city. We waited for 30 years to open Peacock up.
Thank you, Andrew King. Next is Jack Healy.
Yeah, housing affordability to me is the biggest issue here, and I just hope that some of those houses just won't go to the rich and famous, but we'll have $100,000 and pepper pot, like lower cost homes in there. Also, but a debt is a debt at the same time and has to be paid back. But I do feel it is a wonderful project if we can make cheaper houses available for people.
Thank you, Jack. Next is James Caston.
It either go really well or it could go really bad. So yes, the $180 million does have to be paid back. I have a concern there that if it's, it has to be paid over 10 years of the drawdown. But if it doesn't take off like we're hoping it does, if there's a bust, then that 180 million is to be paid back. So it could actually turn into the tale of the ancient mariner, where unfortunately, if it's not built out, then the current ratepayer will have to subsidise that.
Thank you, Jack. And last for this question, Angela O'Leary.
Thank you. You've heard the facts from Andrew and Paula. A couple of other things to consider. In terms of paying back the loan, it's every bucket of amount of money that we draw down, the 10 years starts from there. So it's not the entire amount in 10 years. This could carry on to 10, 20, 30, 40 years, which is okay if we pay it back and attracts no interest. If we go over that, then there'll be interest. But the second thing is the government is currently looking at funding and financing for local government. They have acknowledged that we're under pressure, and they are looking at a special purpose vehicle. So the future could be that 70% of the debt that we're carrying currently for Peacocks comes off our books, and then it becomes a targeted rate to those who will own those homes. That's something we need to consider, but you don't want a leadership that will then max out that credit card again. So a couple of things there to consider.
Thank you, Angela. Question 4 probably flows on quite nicely and is on broadly the topic of the Council's financial affairs and rates. I'll read it. There's a bit of a preamble. I'll read it in a moment. The order of answering will be 1357 2468. 1357 2468. And the question, the preamble is, public trust in the Council has dropped down to record lows. Only 17% think Council manages finances well. The public is told that all is well, then suddenly it's not, with urgent claims for significant rates increases, up 8.5% in 2012 and 9.7% last year. Now, Mayor Andrew King says he has got the books in order and the Council is spending less than they earn, but Chief Executive Richard Briggs says the books won't be balanced for another 3 years, and this year's deficit is 7 million. What is the true story? So there's quite a lot there, but that was the way the question was sent in. And first up is Andrew King.
So the books are in order. This year we've paid back $6.5 million of debt. And that 6.5, we've balanced our books 3 years earlier than we thought. Now there is a possibility we might dip back into debt, into not balance our books over the next couple of years while we go through the expansion with Peacock, but we may not either. When you're bringing in $280 million of income a year, it's a very fine line between trying to break even, pay back debt, or running a little bit over. But these aren't things to worry about. The city has actually sorted out the debt problem, and as long as I'm mayor, there won't be a substantial rate rise again. We're still rating in the bottom third of residential rates in New Zealand. We're not overrating when you look at it. Your average power bill for residential power bill across New Zealand is $2,400, and your average residential rate bill across New Zealand is about the same. For your power, you get your lights and your heating. For your rates bill, you get your sewage.
Thank you, Andrew. Next is James Casson.
Yeah, well, in 2016 we were told the financial books are in good order as well, but that didn't prove out to be the case, and you ended up with a 9.7% average rates increase. My concern is if we keep spending, and like one councillor previously said, like drunken sailors in this council, you will be having another rates increase. So we have to just get back to the basics of it.
Thank you, James. And next is Mike West.
I don't believe the issue is anything other than spending decisions. There's lots of revenue there already. Rates have gone up 4 times the pace of inflation over the last decade. They're forecast to go up at least double inflation for the next decade. Now, there's got to be some of the onus has got to be put on the spending decisions that are made, and they have to be addressed.
Thank you, Mike. Next, Paula Subject.
Thank you. I support the fact that now development must pay for development and the ratepayers are not paying for development. But yes, we are coming into a better financial position of balance, but the debt is looking pretty scary as we go forward. That's the main issue we should be concerned about. I think trust is a really big issue. You can imagine how we felt when Mayor Andrew brought his 16% proposal to the table, having no foresight that this was going to happen and having to work back from there. We're now at a point where we're predicting the 3.8% rates increase going forward, and you've already had my promise that it won't go above that, but I'll be looking for cost savings. Trust is about leading people through the future in a way that I understand. It's explaining things in language that they can understand, plain English. It's about showing where the value sits, showing where the savings are to be made. That's what we must do going forward, because that's the only way we build trust, by being in constant contact with our community.
Thank you, Paula. And the next one is Jack Ewan.
Yeah, it's all about the need for new projects with the need to keep us out of debt. Transparency and accountability. When we talk about opening the books, does the council send a newsletter out once a month to let you know exactly what's going on with the finances, where the money's being spent, and what your rates are being spent on? I think that this is a case where we really need to inform the public as to what's really going on with the finances.
Thank you, Jack. Next is Angela O'Leary.
The facts are, in 2017 you were told the council had a big black financial hole and that we needed a large rates increase. That simply wasn't true. The large rates increase of 9.7% has just delivered a $6.5 million cash surplus, and that's now being paid to debt. But that wasn't what you were told. You were told it was needed to fix the hole. But the question is about trust, and if you elect me as mayor, I plan to do something significant about that. If you don't know what's going on, you simply cannot hold your council to account. So I will stop the financial jargon. I will implement in my first 100 days a plain English policy so you can understand what's going on. As mayor, I will come out to you quarterly and I will give you a state of the city address. I will tell you what's going on, what do you want us to do next, what's coming up the list. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that you can hold us to account, because we work for you, and that's one way I will help rebuild your trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Next, Lisa.
I'm a little confused with this question, because the current Mayor, Andrew King, has said 6.5 million in 1 year has been paid back. But if we just go back to that prior question, where they said 180 million needs to be paid back in 10 years on one project, that means $18 million need to be paid back a year to keep with the budget. Someone new does need to come on in this team and investigate. Budget, each and every dollar needs to be investigated, including the tenders. You look at, why is there two different security companies right now working on the Cleveland's event centre? To me, that's two different company wages, when all these different security company workers all contract to both two different companies. So someone new needs to come on in this team and look at every little dollar spent on all these tenders.
Thank you, candidates. The next, I'm going to marry two questions. I'm sorry. I crossed out 8 and I forgot to ask you. Sorry, Louise Hutch. I'm not going to marry you. Very happy to marry my love. Thank you.
When we talk about council, we need to think about what the actual role of council is in our city, and it's to look after the cultural, social, economic and environmental well-being of our city. And the thing is that council is actually not the only organisation who cares about all of those things. Central government overlaps, we have regional council overlaps, we have philanthropic organisations which overlap, we have community organisations. So there's actually so many people that we could be working with to get the same goals achieved and not have to pay for everything with our rates. And to me, I don't understand why we don't collaborate more with these people who want the same success that we do. And when you're talking about trust with council, I mean, nearly 70% of Hamilton last election didn't even vote. So they didn't even trust the candidates on offer, let alone the council elected. And so I think that we need to be really careful about who we elect. And do we trust them? When they stand up here, do they stand here with integrity?
Thank you, Louise. And I apologise for my mistake before. Thanks, Lisa. Now, as I say, there are two questions that they're not the same, but they're in the same area, both to do with Hamilton Lake and the surrounding area. Thank you very much. So the first part of it is, what would you do to clean up Lake Rotorua? So I should have said the order of answer will be 76413852. 76413852. So the first one, what would you do to clean up Lake Rotorua? And the other, It's accompanied by a picture here of a flooded area down by the yacht club. In 2014, the council approved a fenced dog park beside the hockey field at Innes Common. There has been no evidence of approval being changed to the land behind the yacht club. Do you support spending, I think it's $170,000 plus on this project to put a fenced park on a waterlogged area without iwi, local or user consultation? I'll circulate the photograph that the candidates, so that the questioner supplied. And as I say, the other part of that was what would you do to clean up Lake Rotorua? I appreciate that they're not exactly the same, Rotorua. First up is Paula Southgate.
Thank you. Taking the first step first, there's an excellent group advocating for the restoration of Lake Rotorua, Hamilton Lake, and that's a group called Restore, and we've been working very closely with them over a number of issues: stormwater, feeding the ducks and getting duck nutrient in, plants, filtration, a whole range of opportunities. There was a report due out that's going to highlight what the main contributor to lake pollution is. In terms of the dog park, my answer to that is no, I'm not in favour of that dog park as it stands until I can understand why it has been chosen to go there. But, we haven't yet to make a decision on that. There's a petition coming from people who are concerned about the water quality and the seepage of dog waste into the lake. I've seen a report, I've read it. I need to digest that, but I do need to keep an open mind because this is a decision that will come back to council post the election. I have some concerns. I won't say.
Thank you, Paula. And next is Lisa Lewis.
In regards to the lake, working together with Environment Waikato, shout out to Regional Waikato Council candidates that are here today too, by the way, to look at to cleaning it up. In terms of the dog park, Taino should definitely have been involved in those discussions.
Thank you, Lisa. Next is Angela O'Leary.
Mostly been answered. Yes, the dog park has been put on hold and a decision will be made for the next council. And in terms of Lake Rotorua, there is an action in the management plan for that facility, for that amenity area, to bring it up to a swimmable standard. It's a very, very long-term vision and it would be incredibly expensive to do. You would obviously be more than involved in that decision if it progresses in the future.
Thank you, Angela. Next is Andrew King.
So the cost of what it's going to cost to clean up is actually tens of millions of dollars, and how we do that and whether we do that is a decision that hasn't come before this council. So where we go, I don't know. You're going to have a balance between having a pristine lake, which would mean shooting the bulk of the ducks, shooting certainly all the geese, and I don't think Hamilton Public would like to put up and feeding the ducks, although there's signs up to say not to. As far as the dog park goes, so this is a matter of economics as well as the environment. And secondly, as far as the dog park goes, that's coming back to council for us to look at where is the most appropriate place for a dog park, and the new trainee, the new council will address it.
Thank you, Andrew. Next is James Casson.
Look at all the water on that dog, or proposed dog park. My German sounds would love that. But no, it has been put. So, and I'm not personally in favour of that. In regards to Lake Rotorua, I originally come from Wanganui. We had Virginia Lake there, and they had the exact same problem. We used to hold swim events on triathlon there. You can't do it anymore because of all the waterfowl. As long as you've got waterfowl in lakes, you're going to have a serious problem. And like Mary Andrew said, you just have to get rid of the waterfowl.
Thank you, James. Next, Louise Hutt.
How many of you live near the lake? Hands up. So I used to live on Kalani Road, really close to the lake, and there's a big sign by the corner on the main road, and even it's green, orange, red, for the quality of the water, and even at green it says don't drink it, and it's just like, is that really what we accept in terms of the green rating of our lake? Is the best rating it can be is still don't drink it, don't touch it, don't go near it. And I don't think that's how we culturally think of our environment in New Zealand. And when I talked earlier about a sustainable vision and thinking about the impacts of our decisions, even the unintentional ones, building a dog park, great. Building it near the lake where dog fecal matter might get into the lake, not such a great decision. I'm sure there's other places we can put a dog park.
Thank you, Louise Hutt. Mike West.
Look, I don't want to give an uninformed answer on this matter, so I won't. And what I can say is that any other matters that are brought for council, if I'm on council, I'm a person that can apply good logic and good reason to decision making, so I would consider at the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And last to this question, Jack Elam.
Yeah, having been a water and wastewater plant operator, I know full well about how we recycle sewage and the chemical treatments and so forth. But in terms of that lake, I take Peter there sometimes, and we do a little bit of fishing right there. But that lake is filthy. And it's got weeds in it, it's got smells, it's got mosquitoes, dead wood around the place. I disagree with the mayor on that one. Why can't we bring a consultant and get people in there and recycle that somehow and get rid of that dead wood? It's not going to cost $10 million. So, I mean, we should get on to that right away. The environmentalists should be there tomorrow. And as far as that dog park goes and that fence goes in there, I think we need to work in with Tainui, but we need to do what's best for the whole area.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you, candidates, for keeping within time. You're doing really well. Next question is broadly on the theme of climate change and alternative infrastructure. It's a little bit of a preamble. I'll read that in a moment. The answers will be in order 3, 1, 2, 8, 7, 5, 4, 6. And the preamble is: Hamilton City Council has paid lip service to climate change, yet 79% of people believe it is a major issue for the future, and there's a need to counter the culture of business as usual and growth at any cost. The question is, are you willing to review growth cell plans for Peacock, Ruakura and Rotakauri with this in mind, and with emphasis on affordability and new thinking on infrastructure and the Southern Links Highway? So there's a lot in there. To get your heads around. But I'll read the question, but I think the preamble is clear. Are you willing to review growth cell plans for Peacock, Ruakura and Rotakauri with this in mind, and with emphasis on affordability and new thinking on infrastructure and the Southern Links project? Well, I'm just reading the question. Are you willing to review growth with this in mind, with climate change and the needs? So, first up is James Cassidy.
Look, all those projects are going ahead already. Okay, so they're all planned, they're all in development. We can work closely with the developers to get things as best we can. But in regards to climate change, when we said no to an emergency and yes to urgency, we are one of the few councils that actually are doing things. Last year, we planted 38,000 trees alone. We've replaced all our fluorescent lights. We're doing a lot of things here in Hamilton. We've got the lead cars, we've got the scooters. Every other council that have declared an emergency, it's Auckland, Dunedin, and everything else, have done 0. We have done a lot more than other cities.
Thank you, James. Next, Andrew King.
I'm very pleased that we're the only major city in New Zealand who didn't declare a climate emergency. We acknowledge the word urgency, but not emergency. And the cities who have declared an emergency haven't done anything. Our city has got a full new recycling process coming out next year where we're taking food waste in a chili bin that sits either on your back door or in your kitchen, comes out of the food, because that's what creates the methane gas in your landfills. We put LED lights in, which is 80% cheaper to run, 80% less heat and 80% less to maintain. We're putting in cycleways and connecting up the cycleways we've got. We've got free buses. Everyone talks about decluttering the roads, looking after the environment. The buses drive around empty. We're paying for them. We're paying for the bus. We're paying for the fuel, and we're paying for the driver. We have already made them free for our whole disabled community all the time, and we've made them free for our 18 and unders on any non-school day. So let's use some common sense. The roof isn't falling. We do have to be responsible and move forward, but emergencies are very strong.
Thank you, Andrew King. Next, Gillen.
Yeah, our drains are full, and we should focus totally on climate change. We need lime scooters, the free busing, tree planting, whatever initiative we can do to prevent it or to work in. And when I think of my son here, I think of the new generation. What sort of world are we leaving behind? Okay, I'll take you there in a minute, boy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Louise Hutt.
So the question itself was around new developments in Peacocks, Rotokauri and
Yes, and
Ruakura. So I'm in favour of growing up. I think that that's what our city needs to meet the needs of our future, generations. But we are growing out as well, and I think the opportunity there is to be leaders in that space. So if we're going to put in new suburbs, have them have the proper infrastructure to begin with, so we're not retrofitting stuff because we realise, a few years in the future, oh no, we wanted cycleways, but we didn't put them in. So I think that we really have an opportunity to be leaders, to do it properly, and to think about, how could those suburbs be the example that would bring the rest of our city up to in terms of infrastructure.
Thank you, Louise. Paula Southgate.
Interesting combination of growth and climate, but I think it's relevant. I think we can drive the higher standards of urban design into the new areas with all kinds of opportunities around insulation, making these homes the best design that they can be to be warm and dry, which of course is energy saving for climate. I think the climate emergency was a call for action, and there's a lot that council can do. We can look at things like grey water tanks, solar panels, but we can also plant our green spaces in places, which we should be doing anyway. We can reduce council's energy footprint, and of course we're involved in public transport. Walking and cycling are very low carbon activities, and so by providing new walking and cycling spaces, especially in the new areas where it should be put in at the very beginning, that's the way to step forward to a more climate friendly city. So it's doing our core business better. Cycleways, public transport, urban design, that's three things we've definitely got a handle on.
Thank you, Paula. Mike West.
Look, I believe there are already measures in place by the Hamilton Council, but I'm going to read my climate emergency statement. Our climate is obviously important for all of us, and I accept that humans make a contribution to greenhouse gases, which are likely to cause in global warming. However, I doubt that doing what is being demanded by the climate emergency movement at the Hamilton City Council level is the answer, let alone affordable, when even the Paris Agreement calls for a nationalised approach. There's a national issue, and local agencies such as Waikato Regional Council are already in place to be the eyes and ears. They have a role in monitoring water and air emissions and quality to ensure that we are not causing degradation to the detriment of our community and future generations. The implications of making drastic changes to the way we live our lives before technology is available to support it could be economically and socially devastating. There is still a lot of discussion to be had before I can be convinced to make a commitment on behalf of Hamilton citizens.
Thank you, Mike. Angela O'Leary.
In terms of our new growth styles, it will be easier for us to make sure that the right infrastructure goes in for our changing climate. Just 2 days ago, I live in Dinsdale, there was considerable flooding just from overnight rain, and I believe Anglesey Street was also under significant amount of water. So it's actually our infill areas that are going to be the most challenging for us. Over a month ago, in terms of addressing climate change, particularly in our new growth areas, but also in our infill, I announced our home scheme. I would like to see, and certainly will investigate, an insulation and grey water tank package for all of our homes. I think that will make a considerable change to our city. And there is a big tsunami of costs coming from the government for us as a city to address stormwater. We have exceptional staff in that area, and I'm confident that we will get the planning right. It's just the costs that we need to address, because they are going to be significant.
Thank you, Angela. And last for this question, Lisa Lewis.
We can look at more ways to reduce emissions and carbon footprint. As council, it is our responsibility to have our community being made aware of how we can do our part with climate change. In terms of declaring a climate emergency, I think of the child's storybook, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. We can work together, though, with organisations to prepare us if an emergency ever did. occur in our city. To address climate change, we need more and better mass transit to get people out of our vehicles.
Thank you, Lisa. We're running out of time, and in order to try to do the last few questions, I wonder if we can go down to 30 seconds. I think it might be possible. The next one is, what is being done, or perhaps should be done, to upgrade the standard of footpaths in the city centre? What is being done, or should be done, to upgrade the standard of footpaths in the city centre? And this will be answered 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, 1, 8, 7. The number 2 isn't here, so we'll pass over to Jack. Number 5 is Mike West.
Footpaths are part of core infrastructure, so they need to be prioritised. Obviously, everything has to be done at a pace that we can afford. So, yes, it is council job to do it. Let's target the worst cases first of all and deal with those, and let's spread the cost over a while.
Thank you, Mike. Number 3 is James Casson.
The current council has been the most active in the footpath repairs. Like I said before, we had a guy out on a scooter called Scooterman, and he was identifying all the paths. So so far we've had 23 kilometres, like I said, of paving fixed. But there's a lot more to do, and we're going to continue with it. The central city, we've got loose paving. It's all up for repair, because those are part of the faults we've identified.
Thank you, James. Next is Lisa Lewis.
Footpaths, there's always room for improvement. The growing problems faced by users of mobility scooters and wheelchairs when getting around our city require immediate attention and action. It is imperative that footpaths are resealed, upgraded and maintained in all of Hamilton and not just certain areas. An app idea I had where people could take a photo of a footpath that's damaged, and that goes direct to council, because at the end of the day council won't know to repair something unless they're made aware of it.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, Angela O'Leary.
Thank you. Over time, technology changes, thinking changes, engineering changes. In the central city, we are changing the resurfacing and renewing our footpaths. Once upon a time ago, we thought cobblestones was a great thing, but any woman who wears heels in town, we know cobblestones aren't. So asphalt's going in, but it's in the program and it's being done.
Thank you, Angela. Andrew King.
So we all want trees in our cities, but trees have roots and roots push up footpaths. So we've now started to plant our trees in steel cages so the roots stay in that cage and don't damage footpaths. So that's the first thing. Second thing is a previous council decided that they wanted to make the books look good. They cut spending, and part of that spending was cutting the spending on footpaths. We, in the 10-year plan in June last year, we tripled the budget for footpaths to catch up. It's not acceptable the way the footpaths are, but it is going to take a few years for us to actually catch up. But there's 3 times.
Thank you, Andrew. Next, Louise Hutt.
This might be the simplest question that we've been asked, and maybe the easiest. What should we fix them? Yes. When you think about footpaths, they're one of the most basic services that we provide, but actually have a huge potential in terms of enabling our city. I mean, if you don't want to go out because there's, a fall danger, or because, you're not sure of the state of the city you're walking into, I mean, you're not going to go out. You're not going to be a part of the community. So even though footpaths might be something that seems really simple, they're hugely important.
Thank you, Louise. 30 seconds is working pretty well. And last, Paula Southgate.
Thank you. I won't repeat what everyone has said. There is a plan in place to do it. We have up to our standard to a really nice mix of asphalt and brushed concrete like you see in Ward Street, so it will be of a consistent standard. I don't like the rumbling cobbles between Garden Place and Civic Square. They don't work, and we keep turning them over and putting them back down again, and no, we've got to do better than that. Well, a big challenge for our footpaths is figuring out how we share with all these new modes of transport, so that everyone's safe. Pedestrians must be kept safe on footpaths.
Paula. And next time, again, we'll try to keep it below 30 seconds if you can. Do you believe in unelected, appointed, race-based seats on council? So I should have said the order of answering will be 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 8, 6, 5. So starting number 4 will be Angela. So do you believe in unelected, appointed, race-based seats on council? To those who do, Surely this is undemocratic and against New Zealand's racial discrimination laws.
First of all, the government legislates all councils in New Zealand to find mechanisms for Māori to have decision-making processes and access in council. Our council doesn't have wards and doesn't have Māori seats. We appointed Māori Māori onto committees, not onto the governing board, not onto the elected board of council, and I support that.
Thank you, Angela. James.
The Mayoral Maori is a good step, but they are unelected. So I would prefer to go out to consultation with the public for seats on council, because I don't think anybody should be unelected.
Thank you, James. Jack Kenyon.
Yeah, I like the idea of the Maori consulting group, because I believe we're Maori and non-Maori together, and it's the way of the future with the Maori world view, whakawhanaongatanga, and also Wairua. Their perspective on spirituality is a wonderful one, so I think we need to utilise that a lot more.
Thank you, Jack. Andrew King.
The Local Government Act says they're supposed to have iwi at the table when we're making a decision. We're supposed to be consulting with them. Hamilton, firstly, the law of the country says you're not allowed to have Māori sitting on council unelected with voting and debating rights. So we don't have that. We do have them on lower level committees, though, which is about the Local Government Act and listening to what they say.
Thank you, Andrew. Paula Southgate.
Thank you. I support the Māori Māori being there because it discharges our obligation under both the Local Government Act, the Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and a number of other legislations under the Human Rights Act. We do have to provide all of those pieces of law, provide for our tangata whenua as the